All right, Shalom. All right, start out with saying Ka Halayim La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Harakak Wadash, my mouth. Double honors to the elder apostles, the great millstone, and my elder Heroin as well. Salutations to the Akim that are pushing the truth, the sincerity, and truth, and peace and blessings to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. All right, I'm Knocks the Unborn Yasharallah from the Lions of the Yasharallah camp. And another news and prophecy. This article is on Putin is angry. Ukraine is using U.S. HIMARS weapons on Russia. All right. The recent HIMARS strike that reportedly destroyed a Russian base followed a series of particularly brutal Russian attacks in recent days. On Friday, Russian airstrikes killed at least 26 Ukrainian, including children. So it's getting real crazy over there, man. All right. And we already know, going to sound like a broken record. You already know when this article is done, what scriptures I'm going to go into. Mainly the Lord opening up his armory, ultimately using that as a snare against Babylon and Esau, and also the Lord putting an evil thought in the mind of Putin to where he's going to go into the he said he shall go down to the city of unwalled villages, man, which is America, because ultimately this is what this war is going to end up being. Russia fighting ultimately what it's not going to be, what it is right now. Russia fighting against Ukraine and the U.S., meaning the West. All right. It says Ukrainian forces allegedly launched a HIMARS strike targeting a Russian base. Let me see what that says real quick. It says videos show the aftermath of a precision strike by U.S. supplies HIMARS missiles on officers' quarters at a Russian base in Ukraine. All right. All right, let's see the aftermath real quick. It might not play the sound. Oh, it doesn't even have sound. It just has pictures. All right, no worries. Let's go back to this. I was trying to see if they would show actually what all right, here's one right here. So this is the aftermath of what those missiles did. It only shows 5 seconds, but all right. So back to the article. It says targeting a Russian base this weekend. In a widely circulated video released by the Twitter handle Geo confirmed footage of the barrage aftermath appears to show a completely destroyed Russian officer post. All right, let's click into this right here.
Putin is in trouble. Ukraine's HIMARS look unstoppable. After months of Russian missile and drone strikes all across Ukraine, the Ukrainian military struck back on the first day of the year with a precision missile strike against a Russian concentration of troops. The Ukrainian long-range strike killed more than 60 Russian troops and wounded scores in the Donetsk province, according to the Russian Military of Defense. The attack took place in the city of Makiyivka, which is occupied by Russian forces. The Ukrainians used a HIMARS rocket system to target a vocational school turned into makeshift barracks.
I'll put the video up in the beginning so you'll be able to see it. But I'm going to go ahead and continue with the article. It says Russian officer Oleg Marzov announced on Telegram that 3 U.S.-supplied HIMARS missiles struck the facility where the Vladikavkaz garrison of the 58th Army was positioned. A second video circulated on Twitter was captured by an officer roughly 20 kilometers from the strike. Marzov explained that 2 rockets that hit the building itself pierced the roof and exploded between the first and second floor, completely collapsing them in the part folding concrete floors. At the same time, after the explosion, one of the missiles by interior pierced another concrete slab onto the basement in the center of the room where 3 officers were at the moment, and the concrete floor of the basement itself shattered, cut through the space with fragments of the hull smashed walls. In April, the United States revealed details regarding a new $26 billion military aid package for Ukraine. Intended to support Kyiv's defense efforts against Russian artillery, small arms, and ammunition for the HIMARS precision rocket systems were included. Ukrainian forces received their first shipment of these formidable long-range rockets over the summer. Since then, HIMARS have remained a critical component of Ukraine's war operation. A brief overview of HIMARS. The Mi-42 high-mobility artillery rocket system is a widely revered weapon that embodies perhaps the most advanced tactical missile capabilities. First developed as a private venture by Lockheed Martin Missiles and Fire Control, HIMARS made its initial public appearance in the early 1990s. At this point, the United States Army awarded Lockheed with a whopping $23 million contract to construct 4 rocket system prototypes. Ultimately, HIMARS was selected in 2003 and continues to serve in the significant strategic capability to its operators. All right. It says, as a rocket launcher mounted on a 5-ton truck, HIMARS can hold 6 rockets that can reach targets up to 50 miles away. 3 crewmen operate the GPS-guided system. HIMARS features GMLRS rockets or 1 ATACM missile and can fire at roughly 24 kilometers per hour. Wow. For the United States, HIMARS represented a versatile asset for the military. Its ability to transport using C-130s, sea vessels, and other large airframes is a plus. For Ukraine, the addition of HIMARS has elevated its war efforts. All right. And it says, in addition of giving Ukrainian troops the element of surprise over Russia, HIMARS strikes have taken out various Russian artillery sites that limit the occupiers' counterfire capabilities. The United States, however, has delivered these rocket launcher systems with a caveat. Ukrainian forces are unable to fire ATACMs, long-range missiles, which could reach Russia's territory. The recent HIMARS strike that reportedly destroyed a Russian base followed a series of particularly brutal Russian attacks in recent days. On Friday, Russian airstrikes killed at least 26 Ukrainians, including children, man. The lethal attacks, including a barrage on a residential block in central Ukraine, as the uptick in warfare continues. Additional shipments of HIMARS will certainly aid Kyiv's defense efforts, man. So now, that's why Putin is upset. Because of the aid that the United States is giving to Ukraine. And they said, Putin himself and one of his top generals also said, any involvement with the West dealing with this situation in Ukraine is going to be dealt with by force, man. And this is all according to the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, spirit of prophecy, man. All right, this is Yahweh Shem Yahushai is mustering up the host of the battle, bringing everything to a head. All right, let me go into a couple scriptures. All right, let's start out with Jeremiah 51:1. It says, "Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will rise up against Babylon, and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me, a destroying wind." That destroying wind is destruction, man. These missiles, World War III. All right. And I will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her and shall empty her land. Right? These fanners are these other nations, man. And it says, they're going to scatter America, man. It says, and empty her land in the day of trouble, they shall be against her round about. And that's what the Lord is doing. He's setting these nations in array against Babylon, man. You got China rising up, Iran rising up, and now you have the conflict with Russia. All right, it says, against him that bendeth the archer his bow, and against him that lifted up in his brigade, Brigidine, and spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her hosts. Right, because who bendeth the bow? Who was the archer? Who brought these missiles into? Who brought nuclear war or nuclear weapons into the war games? America did it in World War II when they dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, man. All right. And it says, verse 4, it says, thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. For Israel have not been forsaken, nor Judah of his power, Yahweh, of the Lord of hosts. And that word host means army. Though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul, be not cut off in her iniquity. Right. That's why we're not to be attached to this place, man, because the Lord is setting this place up for destruction. All right. He's setting a snare up for this place and they don't even see it. All right. It says, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken. And how did they make the earth drunk? With the dollar, man. The nations are drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. All right, the nations were boasting with America, and they became foolish by partaking and by drinking of that dollar, and especially China. You know, it said Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her take balm for her pain? If so, she may be healed. Right? There's no healing Babylon, though. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go everyone into his own countries. Like, everybody's going to start withdrawing out of this place. How? By not dealing with the dollar, by not dealing with America, with international trade. Everybody's going to start withdrawing themselves from America. Everybody's going to stop dealing with America, man. It says, her judgment reaches unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. The Lord hath brought forth our righteousness. Come and let us declare in Zion the work of the Lord. And that's what we do on the highways and byways. We're declaring the work of the Lord. These prophecies are declaring the work of the Lord, man. It says, make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes. Right, and that's Russia. It says, for his device is against Babylon, to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of his temple. Right, because this is a place America's going to be an altar, man. And he has a big sacrifice in Basra right here. All right. It says, set up a standard upon the walls of Babylon, make the watch strong, set up the watchmen, prepare the ambush, for the Lord hath both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. And we're speaking about it to this day on the highways and byways, prophesying what the Lord said he was going to do to this place. O thou that dwellest upon many waters, abundant in treasures, thine end is come, and the measure of thy covetousness. Right, because the covetousness that was created, the gain and wealth that was with all these other nations upon many waters. Yeah, America's surrounded by water, but the waters also are kindred nations, peoples, and tongue that all got involved and laid down in the bed with America, right, and became partakers. And now the covetousness and all the abundance of treasure that America got with the dollar is being exposed. Verse 14, the Lord of hosts hath sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with the men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. He hath made the earth by his power, and hath established the world by his wisdom, man, and hath stretched out the heavens with his understanding. All right, I'm going to close it out with this. Jeremiah chapter 50 and 9, it says, for lo, I will rise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Her arrows shall be as of the mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. Right, so the Lord's going to have all these other nations assemble themselves around Babylon, man, America, and shoot missiles on this place. And Chaldea shall be a spoil. All that spoil her shall be satisfied, saith the Lord. Because ye were glad, because ye were rejoiced, and ye destroyers of my heritage, because ye are grown fat as the heifer at grass, and the bellows at bulls. Right, because they were grown fat off the dollar. All right, and they destroyed his heritage, which is the children of Israel. And not only the dollar, they grow fat off of slavery. Right, and us building the foundation of America is what was able to have them help bring forth the domination of the dollar. All right. It says, your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Right. And that shame is coming now, because one of the key things that happened this winter during the start of the war with Ukraine and Russia is the sanctions that America put on Russia. And what Russia did, they cut off the pipeline and stopped resourcing energy to parts of Europe. And those parts of Europe were allies to the United States. So now just think if this war continues to go on, right, until the next winter, and these other nations are doing deals without using the dollar, right, which props Russia up of having more dominant power, right? So therefore, is that a spider? And it's on the inside. Slacky. Let me kill this real quick. Slacky. God, his ass. All right, Slacky. All right, so now America's already losing its hegemony in the earth, and with all these other nations doing backdoor deals with Russia, not involving the petrodollar, right? That gives them Russia more dominance of power. So now, if we roll around with this war continuing next winter, right, and they're still cutting off, like, well, I think it was 20 some odd percent of the energy resources that Russia was supplying to these European nations, being cut off. If that continues on to the next winter, that's like they're gonna despise these allied nations with America that are in Europe are going to despise this place. And Britain is what brought forth America. All right. It says, your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be as a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. Because of the wrath of the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Shai, it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate. Talking about America. Everyone that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished, and hiss at all her plagues. Shalakim. Put yourselves in array against Babylon round about. All ye that bend the bow, shoot at her. Spare no arrows, for she has sinned against the Lord. So now, even though America's not firing missiles upon Russia, but they're supplying Ukraine to do so. So really using Ukraine as a proxy to fight against Russia, man. And that's what it's all about, man. Right, it says, verse 15, it says, shoot at her round about. She has given her hand, her foundations are fallen, her walls are thrown down, for it is the vengeance of the Lord. Lord, take vengeance upon her, as she has done, do unto her. All right. So with that being said, her walls are falling down. I'm gonna close it out with this one, Ezekiel 38. Her walls are falling down. Ultimately, America's going to be destroyed, man. Ezekiel 38. All right, and 10, it says, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, it shall also come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. And that evil thought is being put in the mind of the Putin by Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai, man. And thou shalt say, because remember the walls are thrown down. It says, and thou shalt say, I will go up into the land of unwalled villages, and I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates, man. And that's what's going to happen to this place, man. America's not going to be able to defend itself about what the Lord's finna bring to this place, man. You know, it is what it is. So Putin is upset with what America's involvement in the war against Ukraine, which is really a war against Russia and NATO and the U.S. Ukraine is just being a proxy ground that is being fought on, you know. So it's the vengeance of the Lord being risen up against Babylon, man. All right, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying to serve His purpose. With that, I'd like to say, Kal Halayim La Yahweh, Ba Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba Shem Harikah Kwadash Ma'abath. Double honors to the elder apostles, great millstone, and my elder Heroin as well. Salutations to the occupant that are pushing the truth and sincerity and truth. And peace and blessing to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Shalom.